Lindon.
Yeah. All right. So I take it
you
you can see my presentation already?
Yes.
And you can hear me. Okay, good. Well, I do see some new names and faces here in the chat, so I'll give a brief introduction as to who I am. I'm a senior expert at the European Forest Institute, and I also double as a in-house consultant for the Pau Costa Foundation in Spain. I'm based in Germany. Background as a wildland firefighter in California. That's how I got kind of into the fire topic many years ago. And yeah, in the meantime, I've been providing support or working on different types of projects and whatnot in some 20 countries in the meantime. And one of my main projects at the moment for the European Forest Institute is a project called Waldbrand Klimaresilienz. Some of you may have heard about this project. I can't remember if I presented this project here in this forum over a year ago. I know I presented Fire In, and I presented some others. I think I presented something else, but I don't know if I've actually presented this particular project, or if Alex did. But in any case, I'm jumping in for Alex at the last minute, and the fact that he's not here is kind of an indication also of some of the successes we've had in the project, since he's preparing for giving a statement in the German Parliament on Monday, and he's got some things on his mind that he needs to get prepared and some position papers to deliver ahead of that. So in any case, this is actually a presentation I gave at the Nicosia Risk Forum, as you can see, on November 16th in Cyprus last year, which was a civil protection forum largely, but it was also at European level. So it was, in terms of all the other types of presentations there were very European focused, international focused. So it was a little bit of a exception that I was presenting just a project from an actual country or nation or whatever. So I wanted to highlight, and that's where the title comes from, how even a relatively low budget project in one country can really have an impact and interface and interconnect with many other European projects with different actors all across the landscape, from research to private sector and so on and so forth. Okay. So what is what we call it WKR for short, but basically it's we just got extended a little bit, so we're about a 3.5-year project. It's financed by the Federal Ministry of Food and Agriculture of Germany for the budget of around just under €1 million. Main partner is European Forest Institute and Forstliche Versuchsanstalt Baden-Württemberg, which is their forest research center in the state of Baden-Württemberg. And the overall aim of the project is to enhance wildfire management capacity nationwide and enhance cooperation between mostly forestry sector and basically firefighters, so kind of the civil protection bubble, and to transfer international good practice and put it in the German context. And we also have a lot of work in terms of communication work and some policy support activities. The next couple of slides will mainly just kind of show a bunch of different logos, but they're there to basically highlight some of the actors that we work very closely with. I see Detlef is here from Waldbrand team, and I also saw Christian Lorenz from Feuerwehrschule Regensburg. But yes, we worked with a lot of different national bodies, whether they're city administrations like Stadt Erlangen, or more national level like THW, on completely very different topics on the fire topic. We also work a lot with the private sector. We have in Germany, a country that's now facing a wildfire problem. We want to highlight the fact that, well, companies, the private sector always sees where they smell the money to be made with any new problem in terms of development and innovation. And in the case of Germany, the country was not, the 16 states, shall I say, were not uniformly taking initiative to address the wildfire problem. And so you had processes where you had companies developing products for the market to address wildfire issues that did not make any sense, that had no input from actual practitioners. They were just being sold to fire departments willy-nilly with basically pretty pointless products or things that, there was basically a lot of money going into things that weren't really effective or moving us forward. And so in some cases, we partnered with companies to accompany a process to develop a product that actually made sense. Or companies approached us because they're really interested in the work that we're doing, and they want to work with us. You see like Bosch, you see some pretty big names there where we've supported companies and actually connecting them to practitioners on the ground so they can test their sensors, their equipment. Or companies like Stihl, which are just basically interested in our work and sponsoring us in terms of giving us all sorts of gear, anything that we might need to help realize our work in the field. We also engage internationally. Basically, the project is basically being led by Alex and myself in terms of the activities. And since we have both been engaged internationally for many years, we have a pretty big network of actors that we can engage in the work that we're doing here in Germany. And also, there's always opportunities that are provided by some of these other organizations that we can collaborate with and give actors in Germany the chance to attend conferences, events, trainings, whatever, which they might not otherwise have access to. We also work closely with, even national authorities or initiatives or institutions outside and inside Germany, also universities, to bridge that link between, for instance, we don't have a wildfire, discipline within the university system in Germany. So we're working on creating a curriculum to be able to have people coming into the workforce, into the, into society with, just like PyroLife is doing through Wangingen, to have this an actual discipline within society. We have, like I mentioned, some of our main activities. We, in some instances, because of our relationships with the private sector, we're able to actually develop or bring actual equipment to people who otherwise might not be able to justify it within their operational budgets, especially in the forestry sector, to actually deliver products for initial attack. And then one of our main outputs is also developing educational training modules. You can see on the right side there some different training modules that we've developed, or policy briefs, and a lot of communication work. Also, we have demonstration areas across Germany. We have 5 different sites, and basically the sites have been selected based on partners. They've been selected based on topics. So in the picture you see here, this is a old, it was or still is a military training base, which is contaminated by unexploded ordnance from various military activities and the different wars. And you can see that it's also very fire prone. There was a big fire here some years ago, which you see this huge break, which, the fire had no problem jumping over. The area that you see has been demined, which means essentially on the right and the left of this picture, it is a danger zone, so you cannot go there, which is an issue if you want to do any sort of traditional firefighting. So one of the points, this is in Brandenburg, so one of the actions of the project is to develop a plan for how to fight fire in UXO contaminated terrain where you can't obviously move the soil, you can't cut line, you can't drive the fire trucks. You also can't drop water because there's a safety distance of 500 meters for operational personnel. So if you drop a Bambi bucket from 500 meters high, obviously no water is going to get on the ground. So we have to develop, kind of different types of strategies for how, and this is where innovation can play a key role in terms of robotics, in terms of aerial solutions, unmanned aerial solutions, and so on and so forth. Here's another demonstration area in Baden-Württemberg. Here, you can also see some snow on the ground there. So the idea is also in terms of communication that fire management and fire prevention is a year-round activity. It's not something that is only done, in the high fire danger days of the year, but it's year-round in terms of fuel management. And here there's a university nearby, the Technical University of Karlsruhe. And here we're showing how you can create essentially, manipulate the fuel to create buffer zones, to create fire breaks, to still meet forestry objectives while managing the fuel load underneath in a way that would keep fire activity to a minimum should a fire occur there. So here's, just some visuals to illustrate how we do that. This is another demonstration area in Niedersachsen, Lower Saxony, and here there was a lot of communications work involving many different actors, different types of actors, everybody from media to politicians to forestry, nature conservation authorities, private landowners, bringing all these people together on a piece of ground to be able to highlight some of the activities that you can do has a pretty big value in terms of education. This is another area where we're showing also, you can see the bottom right, that's a company Energreen, which the guys from the UK I'm sure are familiar with. But yeah, it's a remote controlled mulcher, and we've been worked with the company to also develop a plow attachment to be able to pull a fire line essentially behind. So these are just a couple of examples of how we work. We also do trainings, a lot of national trainings. We are also involved in international trainings. Some of you probably recognize the picture on the right there. That's in one of your buildings there in the National Academy in the Netherlands. So the training materials that I highlighted earlier were also used as a basis that I was able to present to your guys' national tactical advisors. In the middle, you can see a tactical fire training that we did here in Germany, where we brought over 100 people together from I forget, maybe 7 different counties, many different fire departments to show what you could do in terms of tactical fire, and also fire analysis training in cooperation with the Paul Costa Foundation in other parts of Germany. Just many different types of trainings for different types of actors. This is a demonstration area we have where I'm currently located, which is in the Bavarian Alps. There's an age-old practice of burning in the high alpine regions to keep the meadows open for the cows to be able to graze. And since that was a practice that kind of was not forgotten, but fell out of practice for many years, the vegetation in the alpine area kind of took over, and The cows weren't able to graze and move between the meadows as historically was practiced, but with climate change, these burning practices have become a challenge because people light these fires and then they walk away from them. These are the farmers, and then a hiker comes by and sees a smoking pile of something and is quite alarmed and calls 112, and then you have mobilization of mountain rescue and fire, and often from both countries, since this is on the border of Austria. So it's a very costly costly thing, which comes from a lack of communication. It comes from a lack of training. So going in and working with the farmers to show them how to properly secure a site after they burn it, how to mop it up. This is another little example of an area we're working. We also do, conservation burning. We work with, this was the training that was organized, or the top was training organized by Wildfire team to show the use of tactical fire. And also we had the opportunity to work with the helicopters. So some of the people could get familiar with how communication between ground and air can work, because a lot of people within the fire departments don't really have that much communication experience between air to ground coordination. This was a training that we could participate in, a tactical training in Spain, and there were also a bunch of guys from the Netherlands there as well, in Catalonia. Another training in Spain, in Gran Canaria. We had a burn boss with a horse. No, we had some horses that run through our burn, which put things on hold, and so we had some fun with them. But yeah, bringing this knowledge transfer. If you look at the investments we have in aerial firefighting at European level, for instance, what could be invested. I'll go back to that later. What could be invested if we teach people how to use fire sustainably in the landscape to enhance both resilience and tactical knowledge in terms of how to better manage fire. Some of our policy support activities. This is in Regensburg, where Christian here, you can see on the bottom left, on the right there. This is his house, so to say, and we've been allowed to participate in a I don't know how to translate it, but basically it's an interministerial committee on tactics and training, and we've been able to, through our project, support a national working group on tactics and training, and participate in various workshops and ongoing meetings to help determine what should be taught to all new firefighters, which is obviously a big responsibility, since Germany is based on a volunteer system with 1.3 million firefighters. So when we talk about which standards, what level of knowledge they need, for all new firefighters, it's going to be a big task, not just theoretically speaking of deciding what they need to know in terms of wildfire knowledge, but also how to actually implement that in the coming years, especially since it's a cooperation between the 16 different states in Germany, which is not always easy. It's very tedious. And then occasionally we've been able to be in more of an operational environment. This past summer we had some big fires in Germany, and photo on the bottom is 3 different groups, associations in Germany that work on wildfire, and it was a little bit of a historical moment, these 3 groups coming together on the same piece of ground, doing the same work, and we like to think that within our project we've been able to play a role in bringing some of these actors together. There's been some difficulties, even animosities, it's been, like I mentioned, with the landscape where the state has kind of failed to take a lead on addressing the wildfire topic. What comes out of that is many different people and initiatives that want to take initiative because they see the gap and they want to fill that gap, and that is sometimes it creates a challenging context. But since we know in the fire world there's a lot of egos, there's a lot of people that are convinced that their way of doing things is the best way, and so to be able to have a moment where different people from all over Germany come together and are able to work on the same ground and get over some of the some of the challenges that didn't allow them to work together in the past so much. So we're actually seeing a lot of great cooperation going on in terms of the volunteer associations in Germany. Also, gone beyond Germany, not just to Spain, but also this is California, to look at how, for instance, a TREX is organized, which is a wildfire training exchange. There was one that I don't know if any of you were there, but there was one just recently in South Africa, a women's TREX. So I was able to help organize a TREX in Northern California to look at how things are organized, how different types of community groups we got together. In that case, also, from everything from Native Americans to community groups to prescribed burn associations, the very wide variety of actors that one can bring together, and learn from that and how we could implement these types of practices in Europe. Another activity in California it's a project that's aimed at fire management on military areas, on contaminated areas, and there's a project being run by the U.S. Department of Defense in cooperation with the UC Berkeley Disaster Lab and the Postgraduate Naval Academy, and looking at solutions for early detection, early response, all unmanned. And there's a suite of different types of technologies that are being developed by a lot of companies based out of Silicon Valley. And so these are, as you can imagine, these are companies with a huge amount of financial resources and backing. We're talking, venture capitalism at its best and directed at wildfire management topics. And so this was a great opportunity to interface with some of these companies, these startups, and to see what types of solutions and innovation they're working on. We do also do these exchange of experts programs like this one in Poland, and I'll advertise now that we have another one coming up. So if anyone's interested, in the second part of May after the Porto conference, please reach out, because there's still some spots open, and we're trying to make it even more international than the last one, with people from over, hopefully between 15 and 25 countries represented. Also, a lot of Eastern European countries, and even countries outside Europe like Lebanon, South Africa, so on. One of the things we've been able to do is cooperate a lot, and this is partly because some of us are working on different types of projects, but cooperating with other European projects, and this is what I mean by this kind of swarm intelligence, is having the ability to bring people that are within our project and bring them along on other project activities, like Nemausus, where we had a study tour that was planned to be, it was a closed activity of the project that was basically designed to only be for the project partners, which were mostly civil protection agencies. But then getting creative with the different sources of funding and trying to open it up, since, okay, if we're already going to have an event organized, to go look at best practices in this case, it was Spain and Portugal. How can we open this up to some other folks and to provide funding for them to also come along? So we had I think seven Germans in this case, that and someone from Poland, to be able to tack on to this study tour, which would have otherwise only been open for the project consortium. And then here are some other logos you might recognize, like a fawn, Fire In, and PyroLife. These are some of the other projects we've collaborated with on different topics, based on the focus of the project. For instance, with PyroLife, it's a very theoretical kind of project. There are no, in terms of all the PhD students that are doing a PhD on fire, none of them have actually fought a fire before. So to actually bring some of those PyroLife students closer to the practice, to give them a little more hands-on experience, to actually put a drip torch in their hand and give them that opportunity, is something that we've been able to enable through our project. And also the firefighting landscape is a very homogeneous landscape. So when you interact with then the academic community, you have a lot more diversity in terms of gender, race, geographical representation. So to be able to share perspectives on, okay, what does fire mean in India? Or so it's a two-way street. So we benefit also a lot from what's offered in other projects. Like I mentioned, this was just some imagery from the study tour in Spain and Portugal. This was a workshop from a fund where we were able to get a German university involved in this workshop. We have as already kind of implied, we have an international presence, and here I'm making a plug for this forum here, also with the Wildfire Roundtable, to show that our project and this process of this roundtable has also been in collaboration, and also in the training that I gave for the tactical advisors, based off of the training material that we're developing for Germany. And hopefully you will be able to intensify conversations on what training material is also relevant for you guys, and how we might adapt that for the context in either the Netherlands or any other country. Currently in a project proposal to adapt the training content for Lebanon. So it's been kind of funny to see training content that we developed for the German context also then appear in Arabic and in other languages. We've done a lot of comms work, and because of kind of how the topic took the media landscape by storm in the last few years in Germany, and being in a position to speak from experience and speak to the topic, because we're specifically working on it through a nationally funded source. So between Alex and I, we've done over 150 interviews in TV, radio, newspaper on fire topics, and whether it's California that's burning, or Easter Island, or the Netherlands. We're trying to comment, because as it's mostly German media, they want to, of course, know, okay, can this happen in Germany? And you get the whole range of basic questions about, are we going to have fire behavior like in California and Germany in the coming years because of climate change and all this and that. So on the one hand, it's a tedious job to work with media, as I'm sure some of you know, because you have to answer a lot of basic questions. On the other hand, it's a big opportunity to highlight the positives that are being achieved through the different partnerships. It's an opportunity to highlight the work that we're doing, and also to get decision maker awareness. And that's, like I mentioned with Alex presenting in Parliament on Monday, this is largely probably a result of the communication work that we've done, and being in the spotlight, and being an authority to speak to some of these issues. And like I said, it's mostly German media, but you can also see examples from BBC World News or other other outlets, international outlets, Swedish outlets, Polish outlets. So it's a landscape that I guess it's got a positive feedback loop. So once you kind of become a talking head in that landscape, it pauses your other work, but it also gives a big opportunity to really bring the topics into the spotlight and to highlight some of the great work that's being done. So I just wanted to show a huge a mass of activities that's being done with about 950,000 euro. How it's created synergies between dozens of different actors in a number of different countries, created opportunities where like with the AFAN workshop or the Spain-Portugal tour, there were actors that said, we've been trying to get a hold of this training academy for years, and we never got a response. And there they are, they're standing there with the director who says, yeah, come on anytime, bring your folks down. We'll organize a training or something like that. So just having that tiny bit of travel money, it really comes down to, just that little bit of money to be able to go somewhere, to sit around a table with some folks, look at what they're doing, have drinks with them, network. I mean, this is where, as we all know, this is where the magic happens. Yet we have a European Commission and often our national governments very hell-bent on the shiny red trucks and the airplanes, and that's where most of the investment's going. So the purchase price for a Canadair will be between 60 and 65 million this year. That doesn't cover the availability. So if you actually order a Canadair, to have it on standby, its availability is 42,000, depending on where you are and under what system, whether it's on a daily or a weekly basis. And then your operating cost for a Canadair per hour is 15,000 euro, and that doesn't cover maintenance. And we know from the World Bank and from other outlets that have extensively studied the topic of, when you invest in prevention versus response. So we have kind of figures ranging from between 4 and 16 times, meaning if you invest for every euro that you invest in prevention, you're saving between 4 and 16 times that amount in response costs. These are studies that have been done. This is, this is not some magic number that I'm pulling out of my hat. We continually hear this, that, prevention versus response. Prevention is a much better investment for your money. We know this, yet we can see where we actually invest. So if we take this example of an exchange of experts to Croatia, we know we had 10 experts from these different institutions, fire academies, government like Ministry of Interior, academic institutions, and so on and so forth. We did a 5-day long study tour in Croatia, where we did things like look at robotics for cutting fire line in UXO contaminated terrain and developing, tools, innovations, and strategies for that difficult context. We, toured the air base in Zadar to learn more about the capabilities of Canadair, just because for German decision makers, it's very interesting, since this aerial topic has been a hot topic for years. And it's been very skeptical, and I'm using the Canadair and bashing it a little bit in terms of its cost, but it obviously does have an important function. And the argument that, it's we can never use aircraft in Germany because we don't have big lakes or whatever the argument is. There's a lot of not so intelligent arguments out there, which is driving decisions. So it was an opportunity to actually say, okay, let's go really look at these Canadairs. What are their capabilities? Where can we use them? Why do we use them? And then the integrated command and control center. So if only Germany were as far along as the Croatians were in terms of having all their response agencies sitting in one room during the fire season, making joint decisions together, that sounds like a pipe dream in a context like Germany, where that would, that would be nice if it would happen, but I don't know if it will. But that's obviously where we'd like to get to. So anyways, this whole activity was the equivalent of about 40 minutes of a Canadair flying. So this week of bringing all these experts, all this knowledge generated and shared was the same as 40 minutes in the air. We see this iconic picture from Nîmes Air Base. If you see these 5 Canadairs above, their value is about 300 million euro. If we were to, translate that into the exchange of experts that we conducted in Croatia, or the, this week-long prescribed burn course that I highlighted in Gran Canaria, where there were 25 people, we could have 30,000 exchange of experts in Croatia benefiting 300 experts, or we could have 10,000 week-long prescribed burn training courses benefiting 25 people, and have 250,000 people trained in the use of beneficial fire. Now, if we were to translate in terms of, what's in the prevention versus response framework, and use the figures from the World Bank, where we're benefiting 4 to 16 times that in terms of prevention, in terms of collaboration, cooperation, learning, beneficial use of fire, creating resilient landscapes, well, then we get a whole nother potential relative impact, and that's between 120,000 to 480,000 exchange of expert programs to Croatia, benefiting 1.2 million to 4.8 million experts, or 40,000 to 160,000 week-long training sessions in prescribed burning in Gran Canaria Islands, resulting in 1 million to 4 million people trained in the use of beneficial fire for resilient landscapes. So are we really investing where we should be investing? And all I wanted to highlight is what we can really achieve even with a little bit of money in terms of knowledge exchange, which is why we're here together today, and the importance of getting outside the civil protection bubble, which is where these investments are being made, especially at European level. We're finally getting, like with the new cap call, we're finally getting through to decision makers that we need to invest. It's not enough to just invest in response or in prevention, but we need to have the crossover between prevention actors being involved in the civil protection discussions. And this presentation I gave at a civil protection forum. I gave a similar presentation inverted for a forestry forum in Turkey some weeks before this presentation, where the point I was trying to get across was that the forestry sector has a massive role to play in civil protection. And here, the idea is that civil protection has an important role to play in prevention. But these two actors need to work together, and oftentimes within the national structures, we have this division where these different organizations don't work together, and the funding definitely does not cross over. So if we bring these different types of activities together in these networking events, and we really think hard about where we invest, we can achieve a lot. So that is all I have for you. Thank you very much.